The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is what y'all been waiting for. This is what you guys have been waiting for. You guys have been waiting for the unbiased Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez prediction / breakdown video. So here we go. We're going to do it. We're going to camp out quite a long time on this fight. It's a big time fight. Undisputed. We're talking about, I believe, whoever wins this fight will be the 5th undisputed champion in the 4-belt era. The second one at 140 in the last 5 years. Obviously, the last one was Terrence Crawford. This one, I think, has a bit more higher stakes because, obviously, when Crawford won his belt, Julius Ndongo was not viewed as a guy that could potentially beat him. If he would have beat Terrence Crawford, it would have been looked at more of like a Cinderella story. They would have made movies about Ndongo. This ain't the case with Ramirez and Taylor. So it's a great fight, man. And again, I want to put respect on both these fighters' names because they're both doing what we asked and what we as boxing fans want from fighters, and that's they're two fighters in their prime, Olympians, undefeated, all the belts, not wasting no time, getting straight to it. So much respect to Ramirez, much respect to Taylor. I think everybody should be, whether you're rooting for Ramirez or Taylor this weekend, I think everybody should be a fan of both of them if you're a fan of boxing because they both are doing boxing proud. Now let's get into the breakdown, man, because it's a fun fight especially when you get into the tape and when you get into the stylistic part of it. So we got Jose Ramirez, a guy that's known as a front foot fighter, slugger, guy that with a 72-inch reach. He's fighting Josh Taylor, who seems to be, of the two, the more well-rounded fighter. We've seen Josh Taylor win fights all kinds of ways. We've seen Josh Taylor win fights off of his back foot. We've seen Josh Taylor win with dog fights. We've seen Josh Taylor, win fights by first-round knockout. We've seen him win fights all kinds of ways. So going into the fight, I believe, based on what we've seen so far, Taylor's definitely the more well-rounded fighter. But as we've seen many times in boxing, fight by fight, sometimes these fighters show us different things, so we take that into account. But Ramirez, surprisingly enough, he has longer arms. He's pushing a 72-inch reach. Josh only got like a 69.5-inch reach. So if Ramirez makes the jab a bigger focal point in his game plan, who knows, man? Maybe that's his route to victory. Maybe that's his route to landing one of those devastating knockouts to the body or to the head, much like he did to Maurice Hooker. But it's such an interesting fight because Ramirez has shown vulnerabilities. Taylor's shown vulnerabilities. Ramirez has shown vulnerabilities in the past to be outboxed by fighters with good technical skills who can throw straight punches, down the middle for 12 rounds. We saw that with Postal. We saw Postal just lighting him up with the straight 1-2. He got very good snap on his jab. We saw Zepeda do something similar to that, and that was a close fight. Taylor, we've seen him get hurt a couple of times. We saw him get hurt against Postal. We saw Regis Prograis lump him up. So there's questions about, with Taylor, can he handle a fight on the inside with Jose Ramirez? And we're going to answer all that here. Now, this morning, I went back and I revisited both Postal fights because that seems to be the measuring stick for both these guys. Postal, they have that common opponent. Postal's one of the best 140-pounders out there. In my humble opinion, and much respect to him, I think he's underrated. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves as the fantastic fighter that he is. But Postal, we'll start with Taylor because every time I hear somebody talk about why Ramirez is going to win this fight, they automatically refer me to the 7th round of the Taylor versus Postal fight, where Taylor got hurt with a straight right hand. He was in trouble. Postal took into some deep, dark, uncomfortable plays that we haven't really seen him get taken to too many times in his career. And I find that fight so interesting because he did, and they're right, he did get hurt and he was in trouble. But you also got to take into account that was Josh Taylor's only his 13th fight in his career. Still at a very early stage of his career. It was one of his first true step-up fights. To that point in his career, he had never gone 10 rounds. Never gone 10 rounds. He didn't know what the hell a 10th round was because he was folding everybody up like a blue steel chair, like The Rock, like Chris Jericho, like my main man, Viscera, if you guys remember Viscera. Like Steve Austin. Shout out to Johnny. Like Steve Austin. He was folding everybody up, proving himself to be one of the best young talents in the sport at that stage of his career. And Postal, in comparison to the Postal that Ramirez fought, he was younger at the time. He was younger. He was very hungry. He's still hungry when Ramirez fought him, but you would probably be led to believe he was younger and fresher at the time. So I was very impressed going back and watching the Taylor fight because of the fact that Ramirez, or Taylor, I should say, Taylor had never gone 10 rounds, and he still remained dangerous in the championship rounds. He never got 10 rounds, but he was still dangerous. He was still throwing grown man punches. He scored a knockdown in the 10th round, and that to me showed that fight showed to me that Taylor can rise to the occasion in these big step up fights, and he's done that ever since. We saw what he did to Prograis. We saw what he's done to Baranchek, Ryan Martin, and the list goes on and on. A hell of a fighter, Josh Taylor. Ramirez, when I saw him fight Postal, I found it very interesting because Ramirez, unlike Taylor, he was at a more advanced stage of his career when he fought Postal. He had already been in the ring with guys like Postal, like he fought Amir Imam when he won his title, another guy who was long and rangy, probably more athletic, you would say, than a guy like Victor Postal. And he had that experience with fighters that have similar frame of a Postal. And there were times in that fight where he was able to hurt Postal, land some good hard shots. But when Postal established his jab early in the fight, Ramirez abandoned his jab. And you saw Ramirez, for better or for worse, he fought that, flat-footed Mexican style. And I thought Postal gave him some serious problems. I thought Postal beat him. I'll be honest with you. I thought Postal beat him. I thought Taylor Postal was closer than I remembered it. But I thought Taylor just edged it out, and he got a knockdown in the fight as well. Ramirez didn't get a knockdown, and Ramirez was getting his head jabbed off and all kinds of straight right hands. So I'm looking at the Taylor Ramirez fight, using the Postal fight as one of the barometers for the fight. I'm looking at the fight as a stylistic problem for Jose Ramirez because of the fact that when you look at Taylor, he's pretty much a younger, more physically strong southpaw version of Postal. I would just say he has more willingness to fight on the inside than a guy like Postal. But I really feel like if Ramirez can't make this a dogfight for more than a couple of rounds, he's in big trouble because he doesn't have the footwork, I feel, to cut off the ring on Josh Taylor if he decides to move. Taylor is very, very quick. He's got sneaky power, sneaky power. Not the kind of power that when you like if you watch Josh Taylor hit the pads or train or just watch his fight, you would say, okay, he's got good, decent pop. But I really feel like his pop is a level above whatever people think it is because every time he hits these dudes, whether it's O'Hara Davies, Postal, Ryan Martin, Baranchik, even Prograis, these guys have a tendency to step back. It gets their attention instantly. So I'm looking very forward to seeing the chin of Ramirez, which is very tested against a guy like Taylor. Now, as far as what can Ramirez do to win this fight, Jose Ramirez, man, we know a lot of people. I heard somebody say recently, Jose Ramirez is a guy that has A- level talent, and he blends his work ethic and great strength and conditioning with it. But I'll be honest with you, when I see Jose Ramirez, I don't see a guy that's an A- level fighter. I see a guy who's a B+ fighter. I think he's a good fighter. I think he might rise to the occasion in the future and become an A-level fighter, but I don't think, based on what we've seen, he's an A-level fighter now. Because when he's fought these guys like Victor Postal, I'm going to use Victor Postal fight because I feel like that's the best fighter he's fought. When he fought Victor Postal, a guy who's been former world champion, who has some stylistic problems, I saw him have a lot of problems trying to break that guy down, trying to figure him out. And if you're truly an A-level fighter, you would have found a way later on in the fight to show a gap in class, a small gap in class. But it didn't have to be a big gap in class, but just some sort of gap in class. And when I watched Postal and Ramirez fight, I didn't see a gap in class. I saw two very evenly matched fighters. When Postal fought Taylor, who had only had 12 fights coming in. Early the first 8 rounds it was close, but in those championship rounds that Taylor had never seen, we saw that gap in class. So that's why I say I think Taylor is an A-level fighter. I think Ramirez is a B+ fighter with A-level potential. But hell of a fight either way you slice it, because if Taylor, and this is the part of the fight that's interesting, is the trainer situation. Taylor, his whole career up until his last fight, he had been trained by I think it was Barry McGuigan. Now he's hired Ben Davison. Ben Davison's a guy that a lot of people in boxing, they rate him as a high level trainer. Me personally, I think for me the jury's still out on Ben Davison. They had one fight together against the guy from Thailand whose name I can't remember right now. They stopped him in a round. And so Ben Davison's never really even had to like be in the corner with Josh Taylor. And so like if Ramirez gets off to a good start, or if Ramirez puts Taylor in an uncomfortable position, does Ben Davison have the composure or the experience as a trainer to give Taylor the right instructions? Because look, when he trained Tyson Fury, that was a whole different situation to now. Tyson Fury was a guy that was already like established at that top level. He just needed to motivate Tyson Fury to get in shape, and he did that. Credit to him. Same thing with Billy Joe Saunders. You know, these guys are already established. Taylor's established to a point, but Taylor's a lot more in terms of experience. He's in a lot earlier stage of his career than those guys, and the stakes for this fight are higher than you could probably even say. In some cases, you could probably say even the Wilder fight, because the Wilder fight was there was only one belt. This is an undisputed fight, so. You know, I feel like Ben Davison, if he's going to make his name in boxing, it's going to be with this fight. Not the Fury fight, but this fight right here. With Ramirez, you know, he's got a bit more familiarity in the corner with Robert Garcia. I mean, I know he's had Freddie Roach in the past, but he's got a bit more familiarity with him. They've known each other for a long time, so maybe that's to his advantage. But hell of a fight, man. Just hell of a fight. My prediction for the fight, I'm going with Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor will win it's going to be tough because I feel like Ramirez gets he always gets the better of these decisions, but I really feel like Josh Taylor should win a decision. I don't think it'll stop Ramirez because I feel like Ramirez's chin is too durable. But you look at like the strengths and weaknesses of both fighters. Ramirez is a guy that in order for him to beat you and be his best, he's got to be able to plant his feet and land these big combination punches. I don't feel like Taylor's going to give that to him. Enough. I think he'll have his chances to hurt Taylor and do his thing, but I don't think he's going to have those chances enough to do that to Taylor. I think Taylor will fight a smart fight. Ben Davison's the kind of trainer that is going to tell Taylor that, hey, you know, get on your back foot and box. Don't stay in there too long. And I really feel like the difference in the fight is the speed. You know, the speed of Taylor, the speed of his feet, the speed of his hands. These are the things that are going to give Ramirez problems. Even though Ramirez is a longer fighter, Ramirez isn't a fighter that in the past has used that to his advantage. He's someone that will, a lot of times, he won't even use his jab. He'll close that gap on you. He'll shuffle his feet coming towards you, and he'll explode. And when he explodes, it's great. But what if there's not that many chances to explode against Taylor? Can he find another way to win? I don't think he can. That makes the fight interesting. Is seeing Ramirez seeing Ramirez having to reach into that amateur pedigree of his and show us those skills. Show us, you know, what made him one of the best amateurs in this country when he was fighting, you know, at the time. So, you know, Josh Taylor, I think, will be undisputed. I think will be the first Scottish fighter to be undisputed since the legendary Ken Buchanan. But if he's not, then I'm going to have to give Ramirez a lot of credit because I just don't think... I personally, for me, I'm not disrespecting Ramirez, but I really believe that Josh Taylor has already fought his toughest opponent, and that was his last fight, or 2 fights ago, against Regis Prograis. I know Ramirez is taller. I know he's bigger. But I believe Prograis had a good blend of physical strength and he had the boxing skills that gave Taylor a lot of problems. I mean, for Christ's sake, he lumped them up. He had Josh Taylor looking like Arturo Gatti in 2002 on HBO After Dark with the big swelling on his eye. And Taylor had to really dig deep and show a lot of himself in that fight to win. So, we'll see, man. We'll see. You know, Jose Ramirez is a guy that a lot of people rate highly, particularly in the boxing industry. I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, Jose Ramirez is going to be too strong for Josh Taylor, but the people that tell me that, I don't think they've taken the time to really watch Josh Taylor's career like that. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. I think, you know, again, I want to commend both fighters for taking a fight because we complain about Crawford and Spence not wanting to fight each other. We complain about Tyson Fury and Joshua with all their tomfoolery going on. We complain about a lot of fights in boxing that aren't happening, but I think we should celebrate fights that are happening. And this fight is happening. It's happening at the right time. And I'm a fan of both fighters. I'm a fan of Ramirez. I'm a fan of Taylor. And I feel like everybody should watch this fight. If you're on my channel and you're watching this video, you need to watch this fight because these are two guys that have done it the right way. You know, and there's good fights on the undercard as well. You know, we got Jose Cepeda. You know, he's fighting Hank Lundy. You know, he's a personal favorite of this channel. I love Hank Lundy.
Cepeda almost beat Ramirez.
Cepeda almost beat Ramirez. Johnny can tell you about. Johnny, talk to him, man. Talk. Okay, he don't want to talk to you. But Johnny gonna talk to you guys on the live though. He's gonna talk to you guys on the live. Cepeda, if he wins this fight, he could potentially be looking at the winner of this fight. And Cepeda, you know, he's a guy that he's got all the talent in the world, but he hasn't been able to Mentally, he's even admitted it. Mentally, he always says in his fights, I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in myself. Well, if he believes in himself and he applies it in the ring, I think he can give any 140-pounder out there a great fight. He's on the undercard. So who knows, man? I thought a lot of people thought Zepeda beat Ramirez. So I think Ramirez has a lot of questions to answer this week against Taylor. Taylor has questions as well because there's people that aren't sold on him because he's done all of his best work across the pond. He did it in America. And a lot of times, as we know, these British fighters, these European fighters, they'll do the best work across the pond. You know, they'll have Sky Sports backing them. You know, they'll have all the biased commentary on their side. But when they come here and they're not in their comfort zone, when they're not in the small bubble of British boxing, or in Taylor's case, the small bubble of Scottish boxing, they come in here and they fold. So we'll see, man. This is Taylor's chance to really let the world know who he is, let the world know how good he is. And look, I'm going to end the video on this note. I saw Josh Taylor fight. I think it was on the James DeGale Battle Jack undercard. You guys probably, if you watch this channel and you heard me talk about Taylor, I told the story many times. I saw Taylor. I didn't know who the hell he was. I didn't know anything about his Olympic accomplishments or anything like that. You know, I believe he won a silver medal in the Olympics. He represented the UK. But when I saw him, the first time I saw him fight, I knew he was going to be a champion. I knew he was going to be somebody that was going to be a factor in the division. And I've been riding with him ever since because I thought he had the skills, the talent, the ability, the grit, all that stuff, the toughness to go and beat any 140-pounder in the world. I'll be honest with you. I believe in Josh Taylor so much as a fighter. I feel like if Terrence Crawford was 140, he would have given him a great fight. He might have even beat him. I think it would have been a pick'em fight, you know, because we saw Crawford when he fought Postal. He won the fight easily, but he had to figure. It took him some time to figure Postal out, and Taylor's pretty much like I said earlier, a younger, more physically strong, faster, fresher Postal, you know, and with more punching power. So I feel like that would have been a great fight, and it's a fight that can still happen. If he wins this fight, he's looking at maybe fighting Crawford, and that's another interesting dynamic to this fight. You know, and I'll get to that in a second. But like with Taylor, I've always believed in him. I've always thought, even when he fought in the Super Series, when people were talking about Prograis and Baranchek and all these other guys that would have won the tournament, I said absolutely not. Taylor's the best fighter in this tournament. You know, he's got everything you could ask for in a fighter. He's got the skills, he's got the toughness, he's got the fundamentals, the speed, the power. You know, when you look for great qualities in a fighter, Josh Taylor has most of them. And I don't think he's like these other British fighters. I don't think he's like the other guys across the pond. I really felt like from the day I saw him, he was different. And I believe in this fight, he'll prove it. Ramirez, hell of a fighter. You know, we can't say that bad about Ramirez. He's fought so many fantastic fighters, from the Amir Imams of the world to the Cepedas to the Postals, all those guys. And now he's fighting Taylor. And I believe Ramirez is going to have a great career. I believe Ramirez will continue to show himself to be one of the best fighters out there. But I just think, you know, in boxing, there's levels, and Taylor's just a cut above him. But we'll see, man. I'm really excited for it. The winner of this fight is looking at fighting Terrence Crawford, which I think is great. If Bob Arum's true intention is to make the Terrence Crawford fight with the winner of this fight, that's what I wanted. That's great because he needs a big fight. You know, and Bob Arum's been getting very lazy, man. He's been getting very, very lazy. I was just joking with my boys Johnny and Marcos yesterday. Shout out to both of them about Bob Arum being lazy and about why he loves promoting the Puerto Rican and Mexican fighters, because, you know, it's not really a lot of work for him. If a Puerto Rican fighter or Mexican fighter is good, they're gonna have that fan base, you know. But you've heard Bob Arum before. You've heard him get on ESPN and say it before. He said, you know, when you have a great Puerto Rican fighter taking on a great Mexican fighter, you get a great fight, and the great Puerto Rican, Latin American fans buying pay-per-view. Like you know how he is. You know how he is with those fighters. I hope you guys like the Bob Arum impression. But like, I'm glad, if that's his intention, I'm glad that Crawford's gonna fight one of these guys, because Crawford needs a big fight. It's a damn shame that he hasn't been able to get that big fight to put him over the top, because truthfully speaking, you know, right now he probably is the best fighter in boxing. You know, with I know you can criticize the resume, and that's a fair point, but how many fighters have we seen in boxing fight quote-unquote nobodies and not look great against them, and their performances drop? You know, I can go to almost any fighter in boxing and say and point to a fight where he fought a quote-unquote nobody and they went life and death with them. Tyson Fury, he fought John McDermott when he was at British level, and he freaking went life and death with him. He had to give him a rematch. You know, a lot of fighters, man. The great Dave Benavidez, who everybody says is this killer, right? He's a great fighter. I like Dave Benavidez, but he had a split decision with Ronald Graville. He had to give him a rematch. You know, it's only a few fighters that you see from fight by fight keep the performances right here. They don't have no drops. It's very rare. You know, your guys like Chocolatito and Pacquiao and Mayweather and I'll even put Crawford in that bunch. These guys almost never have a dip in their performance, no matter who the performance is, no matter who their opponent is. That's why they're great. And that's why I believe Crawford is one of the best fighters out there, is because like he hasn't gone the distance in 5 years, 8 straight fights, you know, and I would love, personally for me, I would love to see him fight Josh Taylor. Ramirez would be great too, but I love to see the Josh Taylor fight because I really feel like Josh Taylor will bring the best out of Crawford, and likewise, I think Crawford bring the best out of Taylor. But yeah, that's my prediction. I don't want to make this too long-winded. We're 20 minutes in. You guys give me predictions down below. You know, I'll say it again. I got Josh Taylor with the UD over Jose Ramirez. I'm gonna say, I'll even get more specific. I think Josh Taylor wins 8 rounds. I think he wins about 8 rounds, 116, 112. You guys give me your predictions down below. You know, let me know if you guys think I'm tripping, or let me know if you agree with me, and let me know why. Don't just tell me that you think I'm tripping or that you agree. Let me know why, and as always, I'll get to you guys in the comments. And yeah, man, it's a great fight for boxing. It really should be a celebration of boxing because these two guys are doing everything that you ask fighters to do. So I'm gonna leave it at that. You guys leave your comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dane. So until next time, take care, guys.